Hi Nakul, hi Monty. Thanks for joining me for part three of this IPL preview, and we'll be covering England's Eoin Morgan's leadership and Kolkata Knight Riders. I'll start with you, Nakul. Has much changed from last September for Kolkata Knight Riders this year?
We talked about this a bit at the auction. Not really. I mean, there's no seriously high-profile players they picked up in the auction. Some good players, Shakib Al Hassan, Ben Cutting, some domestic depth. A lot of experience with Harbhajan and Pawan Negi, and Sheldon Jackson, who I know you're a fan of at KKR, has been around the setup before. Karan Nair, the most rapidly discarded triple centurion surely in Test history, and then a couple of players who had good domestic seasons in Venkatesh Iyer and Vaibhav Arora. But KKR had everything they needed. They just had a lot. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of very good players, and already did. It's just a lot of them were underperforming last year. There was a real sense of them not being the sum of their parts last year. And if they can get a few of their players, their top performers performing at a good level, then there's absolutely no reason that KKR shouldn't have enough to challenge for the playoffs and beyond. So they didn't need to do a lot, and I think that their auction activity reflected that.
Yeah, and I think in terms of IPL Indian experience in the batting, obviously Rinku Singh just today was ruled out of the IPL, and they've added Gurkirat Singh Mann from the auction pool. So I think that's also an additional bonus because I think he's got a lot more experience in the IPL than Rinku Singh. So if in case someone from the middle order fails, I think Gurkirat Singh Mann is a good option to have in the squad personally. And I think we strengthened in the sense with Shakib. If Sunil Narine, the all-rounder, does not work out, Shakib Al Hassan can slot into that position and be effective in that role. We've seen his class over the last 10 years, and I fully expect him to make at least 4 or 5 games for KKR if Sunil Narayan's not playing to the level that's expected.
And similarly with Andre Russell, if he's not fit, or
Ben
if
Cutting,
he's
yeah.
yeah, exactly, or if he's only fit to bat, which could be an issue as well. So there's more backup, I think, this year for KKR than they've had previously.
Yeah, and Monty, on to you now because obviously Morgan only captained 7 games last season, was kind of given the captaincy 7 games in. So it wasn't Owen Morgan's team. It wasn't Owen Morgan's leadership style that we used to seeing. With having a full preseason with this KKR squad now that he's been with them for the last couple of days at least. Do you see this IPL season being a lot more attacking from KKR in the sense that what we've seen with England and Morgan's team?
Yeah, look, I think that second half of the season last year when they changed the captaincy was in view to actually play their best team at the start of this IPL. So Owen Morgan naturally we all know his credentials as a T20 captain is really good, but it was actually in 2015 when he wanted to change the setup of English cricket. He went he actually got in touch with Brendan McCullum, and they're good friends, they're good mates. So he's obviously Brendan McCullum sees the transition and the leadership and the brand of cricket that Owen Morgan likes to his teams to play. So I think we'll see hopefully a stronger season this year with Kolkata Knight Riders. They've obviously feel that they lack a bit of experience, and the likes of Harbhajan Singh, he's been fantastic, for the two teams that he's played for, and he's a winner. He knows how to win the tournament. He knows how to win games, for his team, and I think that maybe could be that difference, for KKR this year. It could be Harbhajan Singh, who actually Owen Morgan looks towards, when there's a tough situation going on. He's like, well, let me bring in Harbhajan Singh. I need a wicket. I need a tight over. And Lockie Ferguson again. Pace. We've seen pace just completely, demolish teams, and so that's gonna. I expect him to be playing that first game. If I was captain of KKR, Lockie Ferguson is the first person I have on the sheet.
I agree
Uh,
with that, and I think there might be a big call to be made. I don't know that you can fit Lockie Ferguson and Pat Cummins into the same 11. I would like to see a big call made and have Lockie Ferguson picked over Pat Cummins. I think he gives you more in a T20 context. Cummins is a fantastic bowler, and a wonderful athlete, and is a great guy to have around. But I don't think he's going to win you a T20 game in the same way that Lockie Ferguson is.
yeah, I think the talk here in Calcutta, where I speak to my friends who are big KKR fans as well, we all really were impressed by Lockie Ferguson when he came in last year after Russell got injured for a bit. And I remember he took 3 wickets against, I think it was Delhi, where he got 4 overs, 21 runs, and 3 wickets. And everyone could see Lockie Ferguson is just an exceptional player when it comes to T20. But of course, the price tag comes into play, doesn't it? And it's difficult to drop a player when you spend so much money on him. So, like you said, it'll be a big call to be made. And I hope Morgan makes it. I don't think he's shy of making these big calls. And so I hope Lockie Ferguson plays because he's too good a player to not be make. He's that X factor that the KKR team need, and
Yeah,
hopefully he'll be there.
yeah. Talking about pace, there's on the IPL website you can see the fastest deliveries bowled last year. Over the top 10, the only Lockie Ferguson was the only one who isn't Norkia or Archer who made that top 10. His fastest ball was faster than Jofra Archer's, only by a little bit, but still. That he is genuinely threatening at any stage of the innings.
Well, Nicol, also, sorry, and Viraj, I want to say another thing. When I played grade cricket, and when I faced my first ball against Lockie Ferguson, my bat didn't go up and the ball hit me on the head. And he's just ridiculously quick. He played for Sutherland, which is, Glenn McGrath and Steve Walls. I think Son plays there. And myself, I was playing for Campbelltown at the time. And this guy it's like Shane Bond, similar action, similar skiddiness, and very fast. So, I'm sure he'll produce, some exciting cricket for us to watch while we're in the UK.
Yeah, and as a KKR fan, there's nothing better to see than to see KKR's fast bowlers run in and take those early wickets because it reminds me of 2008, Shoaib Akhtar doing it to Delhi Daredevils.
Well,
It
so
was
you're in India, actually. You're in India. Will you be going to some of the matches? Will you get there, or are you going to
no,
be
I'm
covering
back
from?
day after, so I will
Well,
not
I
be
All
think
right,
attending the
okay.
you were
game.
talking about crowds. As far as we know, particularly with the cases rising, as far as we know, we're not going to see crowds at the stadiums for the whole of the tournament. It would. I think a lot would have to go right between now and the latter stages of the tournament for that to happen. So that's obviously a big deal. But and again, keep looking at this fixture venue breakdown, which is important. Again, first 3 games in Chennai, but then the rest: Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Bangalore. Not really sure what the Bangalore pitch is going to be like. It's changed kind of this way, then that way, but in theory, that's some quick pitches that these guys will have to play on. I want to talk a little bit about we've mentioned a bit of the India England one day series. A guy who impressed in that made his debut, Prasidh Krishna. He's a little bit quicker than people think he was. The people thought he was going to be. Bowls consistently 140 plus. Can move the ball a little bit skiddy. And Prasidh Krishna has probably vaulted himself into the playing 11.
Yeah, I think you always used to be between Prasidh Krishna and Nagarkoti for that 11th player at KKR, and I think Prasidh Krishna will probably get the nod ahead of him in the first few games at least because of now his India experience that will come into play. I think he's come along a lot in the last 6-7 months as well. So it'll be good to see him under Eoin Morgan's leadership, working alongside Cummins, Harbhajan Singh's experience, having played international cricket for so many years, will be huge, especially for someone like Varun Chakravarti, who's just learning his trade just recently, last couple of years, has burst onto the scene. But do you expect KKR to finish in the playoffs, as we usually ask? Monty, you go first.
Yeah, look, KKR again. They this year they need to have a good year. Last year I'm sure the owners and the fans. We've seen Gotham Gambhir. That legacy of KKR has been. It's been Gotham Gambhir. His team. So, I think this year they probably have to have at least be close to get into the playoffs. They cannot afford to have another poor season. The owners have shown a lot of faith in the changes of leadership in Brendan McCullum. So yeah, we expect them to have a competitive season, and the difference could be Andre Russell again didn't fire like we wanted to see him. In India, he always fires. Harbhajan Singh, he knows how to bowl well in the IPL in India yet again. So these are 2 key players for me, which I think, could be that difference. And that Kuldeep Yadav, little leg spin, who knows, if Owen Morgan can change his fortunes around, I'm sure he will be the first guy to be saying, what a great leader Owen Morgan is.
Yeah, I like. We've seen what Morgan has done for Adil Rashid and vice versa. I really like watching Kuldeep Yadav. At his best, he's a match winner, but he's going through a really tough time. And having been a bad wrist spinner, I can completely empathise with what it's like when wrist spin goes wrong. It's really tough. But Kuldeep at his best is a proven match winner, a weapon. And I think that KKR last year were right on the bubble. They finished 5th, but only on net run rate. It was ridiculously tight last year, basically, unless you were Mumbai.
And the year before, for the last 2
and
years,
the year before, they
KKR,
finished on the bubble. I think
the
that
Sunrisers every time.
yeah. But I think there's enough quality there. There's enough quality in the top order. You've got that middle order power pack of Morgan, Dinesh Karthik, who's just won the side's Mushtaq Ali Trophy with Tamil Nadu, and Andre Russell. If 2 of those 3 have good seasons, KKR make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'd like to end by giving a small message to KKR. Please, just the last 2 seasons, you needed to win 1 in 3 to make the playoffs. Just win. Finish it off. Get into the playoffs early. Just do it. You give me heart attacks like this. It's all I want is for us to make the playoffs.
This is the great thing about the IPL. It is that difference of 1 game or 2 games, but that is how competitive these teams are, and sometimes it's just a difference of 1 experienced player or a youngster being fearless, or strategically getting your decision right, and you're in the playoffs. So you could just see why this is the best league in the world, and everyone loves watching the IPL. And some people have even said that international matches should not be scheduled during the IPL, which I feel is a touch unfair, because what about the players who aren't in the IPL? They still need cricket to play, hopefully in other leagues around the world. And seeing some international matches during the IPL is maybe another opportunity for the owners and the coaches to have a look at which other players they may want to have a look at in the next auction.
Yeah, I think Kevin Peterson mentioned it, that he thinks that it's the world's biggest festival, and it is broadcasted like that in India as well. They call it India's greatest festival. So it'll be interesting to see in the future what happens with the IPL auction. With the IPL window, if there's any international cricket played at the time. But for now, we'll stick to this season. And thank you both for joining me for KKR, and I'll see you in part 4. Thank you.